Okay, so I am recording. You guys can see my screen where I'm sharing, right? Okay, fantastic. All right, so I want you to, first thing, here we go. I want you to open your chat and respond to this prompt. Tell me your name, what school you work at, and any new hobbies or skills that you've picked up over the last year. I hear this as a trend, like people have picked up lots of new hobbies and things like that. So I want to see what other folks are doing. Tell us a hobby or skill that you've picked up over the last year during the pandemic. What? And I've got to ask, what is pickleball?
Well, it's kind of like tennis,
okay.
But you play with a wiffle ball type ball, and you have like a flat oblong ping pong paddle. And you can play indoors or outdoors.
That sounds cool.
Pretty fun.
Love it. Love it.
Steve? I will say, Lucas, I have played pickleball before, and it is awesome. I did it at App going through the PE program. It combines tennis, ping pong, badminton, all of them onto the same court, and it's not as much running as tennis.
Yeah,
but it's just as fun.
That's awesome. Awesome. A lot of people cooking. We've been doing a lot of that too. Find new recipes on the internet or see some video and try it out. We watch, I don't know if you've ever seen that guy. He's been on Ellen, Kalen Cooks or Kalen Reacts, and he reacts to all these like nasty things that people cook on the internet. And it's really funny, but he does some legit recipes too. And so he had this peach cobbler. And I've never made anything like peach cobbler before. I'm like, I'm going to make that. It was awesome. It was like, oh, I will be making this again. So definitely recommend that. Let's see. Reading. Good stuff. Reading anything cool, Steve? Star Trek Discovery I've watched, I think we watched the first season of that. It was pretty good. I liked it. Books of the Book Club, awesome. Baking, that's awesome. Baking, as far as cooking goes, is probably the hardest thing of cooking. I'm trying to think what couple that I have picked up early on got back into aquariums and planted aquariums. And so we have, and then raising cherry shrimp, little tiny freshwater shrimp. That's been really fun. They're pretty cool. They're just fun to watch. They're busy all the time doing stuff. I don't know. Messing around with ukulele. Like we all have like ukuleles now in the house, and we'll get we need to start a band, like a ukulele band. But all these great YouTube videos, like how-tos and stuff. So that's been fun. We need to practice more consistently. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, well, y'all, I'm going to jump right into this. And today I want to walk you through some of the ways that Google and Canvas work together, and things that will potentially make your life a lot easier, because, as you know, we're a Google Suite, Google Drive district. We use that a lot, and so this will actually show you how Google and Canvas talk together, and really, in some instances, really beautifully, and give you some really neat features. So the first step, if you haven't done it, and probably most of you have, but would be to link your Google account. So I'm going to walk you through that here on the screen just to show you how to do that if you haven't yet. So the first thing I'm going to do, and y'all, I'll log in a little bit differently than you do as the admin, so don't be like, where is he going? Oh, it's already got me in. Okay, good deal. So the first thing you want to do to connect your Google account to your Canvas account is to log into Canvas. And you want to go up to your account. And there's a lot of things in here. Sometimes if you haven't explored like the notifications and such, you might want to go in and set those notifications just to make sure that you're getting the information that you want from Canvas to your phone or to your email. I'll also just point out this QR for mobile login. So if you download the teacher app from the App Store on your Apple or Android phone, this QR for mobile login will get you in really quick. And there'll be a thing in the app that'll say scan that QR code, and it connects your accounts together. It's really nice. That's also pretty much the way our students will connect their parents to the app and to Canvas. Currently with Haiku, we send home those parent invite codes, and the parent has to log in and put that code in and all that. Those days are gone with Canvas. Parents really just need their child to log in, and then that child will pull up that QR code, and the parent will scan it with the parent app, and then those two people, they'll be connected, and the parents can see the grades and the activities and all that their child's doing. So anyway, I digress. Let me go in and show you this. So I'm going to click on settings for my account, and I'm going to scroll down, and here in this registered services section, you should see the option to connect your Google Drive. Now mine's over here because I've already done that. Yours may be over here on the right. I can't remember where it is before, but you want to go ahead and connect your district Google Drive account in here, and it's going to ask you, it'll say the whole permissions thing, like Canvas wants permission to like read your files and edit your files and all that, and that's going to be okay. So you can click approve or accept on all of those things if you haven't done that already. And what that'll do then, when you are editing pages and assignments and things like that, for example, like in the written content editor, there'll be a Google Drive icon, and you can click on that and directly access the files in your Google Drive while you're building things in Canvas. So I want to pause, see if there are any questions about that, or anybody needs help or needs me to walk through that step again.
Lucas, did we do this as part of the Canvas training, or is this something new?
You probably did. I don't remember if the Canvas training specifically said, hey, connect your Google Drive account. Okay. But I know they had you go in and look at your profile and set up that sort of thing. And I don't know, if you're like me, when I go and do something like this, I see buttons, I start clicking.
Yeah.
I would have gone ahead and done it. But so if you just go to your account and settings, you can see if you've done it or not. If you connected your Google Drive, and it'll have your district email address underneath the Google Drive section here if you have.
So if it says view your Google account, so it's connected.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, should be good.
And will we still go through like my.ncedcloud to go to Canvas and stuff too, though, right?
Yeah, that's still going to be your primary means of logging in. Great question. That's still going to be your primary means of logging in for teachers and students. But what this does, it lets Canvas talk to your Google account, so it makes it real easy to move things back and forth between them, which is awesome.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay. Any other questions about just linking up your account? You can also, if you have a Skype or a Twitter account, you can do that too. I still haven't seen specific areas where that does much, but I don't know. You can if you want to. All right. So let me jump back over here. So that's the basics. Now, I do have a step-by-step here on doing that. I kind of skipped ahead and went ahead and just showed you. And there is a video here. Let me go ahead and share this presentation with you so you can look at it later. All right, and we're going to change that to anyone with the link. So I'm going to drop that in chat so you can refer back to it later, share it with a colleague who couldn't make it today, etc. All right. Okay, so that's the basic of just linking your accounts together. Now, what I want to show you next is a new feature recently enabled that I'll try my best to communicate. Anytime I turn a switch on in the back end that's going to change your world, usually it's going to be to add new features and stuff like that. I will communicate that out to folks to let you know. This is one that I recently enabled, and it's called Google Assignments LTI 1.3. This is really awesome because what it lets you do is use your Google Drive to assign things to students. It will force them to create their own copy of the files that you're using. It'll even put their name in the file title so you know who it is. And then it automatically, on their end, with a click of a button, lets them turn in their work, and you will see it as a submitted assignment once they're done. All right. So it puts all the student work in a separate folder inside your Google Drive. So it's all nice and neat and organized. You can even see students when you're doing an activity like this. You can even pop into your Google Drive and see students editing files live in real time, which is really cool. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to create a Google assignment inside of Canvas, because I know a lot of you do this kind of stuff already. Some of you have or still use Google Classroom, and this will replicate a lot of the functionality as far as files swapping and stuff goes of Google Classroom, but all within Canvas. So I do have a step-by-step instruction. All the steps involved. So that's on slide 6 here. I'm not going to go through this. I'm just going to demo it for you, and I'll walk through these steps. So let me switch over to Canvas. Now, at any point you need me to repeat something or you want to ask a question, just ask. No problem. Just interrupt me. It's no big deal. All right, I'm going to go to this little sandbox course that I made here, Mr. G Science, because one time I used to be a science teacher. I miss those days. So here we are, Mr. G Science class. I just used one of our templates that we have and customized it a little bit. And I'm going to jump over here to modules. Let's get right here. Okay, so in my science class, I got a section. Let me get rid of this stuff I've been playing around. I got this section, a module called Backyard Science. All right, and I want to add an assignment to it. So I'm going to come over here and click the plus, and I want to add an assignment. So here, remember, you can do pages, discussions, text editor, whatever. I'm just going to leave it on assignment, and this is a new assignment. So I'm going to call this Birds in My Backyard. Because I want my students to be outside and see the beauty of nature around them. All right, so I'm going to click Add Item. All right, so now I have this assignment. There's nothing in it. It's just an empty placeholder assignment. So I'm going to click on it to edit it, just like I would any assignment. And right now it's pretty boring. So I'm going to edit it. And here, notice with any assignment, any discussion, whatever, we have that rich content editor. You remember I told you would have that Google Drive icon. It's here, so that's there if you ever need it. I'm not going to use it right now, but so first thing I'm going to do is explain this assignment to my students and what I expect them to do. This assignment, and I would elaborate more on this than I'm going to right here with you guys. Okay. So in this assignment, I want you to go out and find examples of 5 different species of birds, research them online, finding information and pictures, and add them to the Google Slides presentation that I have set up for you. Please be sure to cite your sources, submit the assignment back to me when finished. So any instructions, anything I want to add, this is where I'm going to put it. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down and fill out a little more about this. So I want this assignment to be worth 100 points. The assignments group, you set these up. So this is like kind of where you set up, like I give labs, I give quizzes, I give projects, blah, 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 whatever your different categories are. So I'm just going to leave this as assignments because that's where it fits in. I can say how I want the how I want it to be displayed. So I'm just going to leave it as points for now. That's fine. Now, here's the big thing for what kind of assignment this is going to be. What is the submission type? So for this, I'm going to use an external tool. And that's going to be the Google Assignments. So I'm going to click External Tool, and this little window expands. And what it's looking for is an address of that tool. Like, where does that tool live? So I just click the Find button. All right. Now this window pops up, and I'm going to configure the external tool. So there's a few that are already turned on for you, like CK12, Edpuzzle, Flipgrid, etc. Those are some ones that we've turned on at the district level. You can add more of these in the settings of your course. There's some other ones out there, but these are commonly used. So I'm going to go and find this Google Assignments LTI 1.3. I'm going to click on that. And this window pops up. It's from Google. You can tell this is coming from Google. And it's like, hey, do you want to connect your account and create an assignment with Google Assignments? And yes, I do. And it's my district account, so that's right. So I'm going to click Continue. Now, are you guys seeing the window that just popped up? I bet you. That says create a Google assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you would because it popped up in a separate window. A little concerned. All right. So you see, I think it says create a Google assignment, check plagiarism, files, attach. Yes, no?
No, we don't see it.
Okay. That's okay. I was a little concerned. I was like, yeah, but that's not showing. So I'm going to stop presenting for a second and just share the window. I mean, the screen itself. That way you'll see this pop-up that just came up. All right, let's do that. Give this just a moment. All good now? Okay, so when I click continue, this window popped up. And this is Google. This is inside the world of Google. Now, a couple of cool things here. This check plagiarism option. This is pretty cool. I mean, if anybody could check for plagiarism, it should be Google, right? Google has like the whole internet scanned pretty much. So they should know what's out there. I will tell you that there's a limit on I think it's 5 times that you can use this per course or something like that. I don't know specifically how that works. And there may be that as our licensing changes, say in the fall and moving forward, that might increase. But if you're giving like a paper, like where students can do some significant writing, it might be worthwhile turning on. And so it will check for plagiarism automatically, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I'm not going to do that for this because this is not that high. This is not a very high stakes kind of assignment. So what I'm going to do next is attach the file. So before I did this, I set up a sort of a template presentation that I want my students to use for this. This could also be a Google Doc. Maybe I've got like a digital worksheet, and I've got the questions, and I want them to go add answers underneath it or whatever. It could be that. Could be a Google Doc. Could be a Google spreadsheet. Any kind of Google file. So for this, I have already set up a presentation. So I'm going to click Attach. And it's going to bring up my Google Drive. And here it is. So let's do this one. I have marked template. So template, Birds of NC project. Now it says each student will get a copy. And they'll have their own copy. They're not going to mess up your original, which is awesome. Here, Google is also trying to grade it as well, because it can do that as well. I'm just going to leave it 100 points. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about due date right now. I'm going to let Canvas take care of all that. So then I click Create. So it saves the details. Takes me back. Now, this is the confusing part of all this. So now it's like you're back here and you're like, well, what happened? It didn't do anything. It did. You just don't see it. I don't know why. They need to fix this. So it's still highlighted. Now I just click select. And now that address fills in and it's ready to go. So I did note that in the instructions here that I gave you on the slides on how this works. Just know that that's the most confusing part of all this is like, okay, I did all that. Why don't you say, hey, good job. You attached your file. Yay. I need that in my life. Okay, so that's attached. Let me just go on down. My students can do this as many times as it takes to get it right. I don't care. And then I'm going to set a due date for this assignment. This is due on March 26th. Okay, so I've got everything here, my instructions.
Lucas, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have to click the sync to PowerSchools button for the grades to be imported into Canvas? I noticed you didn't click that button.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a second. So one of the things that we had talked about way early on in Canvas, when we were talking about transition to Canvas, was that there's this beautiful functionality, anyway, of where Canvas could send your grades automatically up to PowerSchool. And it would sync those grades. So you give a quiz, Canvas sends that quiz to PowerSchool. You give a test or a project or a lab, Canvas sends those grades to PowerSchool. But then as I began to talk to teachers in the district, it sort of became like a, who cares? Because our teachers only put in like quarter or trimester grades or whatever we call them, semester grades into PowerSchool. We don't put every single assignment into PowerSchool. A lot of districts do that. We don't. And that's just more work. So I'm not using that functionality. I think we just continue to do what the district allows us to do already. Parents can still come into Canvas and see all their kids' grades. Everything, like why did you make a 50 on that spelling test? You know, that kind of thing. That's already there. So I would suggest not syncing that. You don't want to click that button because you're just going to create a mess ultimately in PowerSchool. In fact, I'm going to talk to the folks at Canvas to look at maybe turning that button off just to make sure. We'll still sync rosters. So you'll still have your course shells will show up at the beginning and they'll have all the students in them already automatically. But grades, if all teachers have to do is just go and put those like 9 weeks grades or 6 weeks grades in, then I don't see a reason to, because there's some technicalities and there's some things that can mess up. I don't see a reason to bother with that. So I'm glad you asked that question. And so that's something we will probably just not worry with. Does that help answer, Melissa?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So I've got my due date, everything's set. Looks good. So I'm going to save and publish. All right. So here's my assignment. I'll show you a couple things. This is neat how it integrates. First, here's my instructions, birds in my backyard in this assignment, blah, blah, blah. And here I see, this is what the teacher is going to see in this assignment. Okay. Now, let me show you this from the student perspective. So I'm going to drag a window over here. Do you see this new window, Mr. G Science class? Awesome. Okay. So I created a dummy student. He does all right. He's got like a 70 in the class right now. So he's pretty good. Because I've been testing like everything. I need to see it from the student perspective to help understand it. So I had to create something. So here I am in the student view, and I'm going to go to modules. And let me get rid of all this stuff, collapse it, because it's just, oh, look, I have a new assignment, birds in my backyard. I wonder what my teacher wants me to do. So I click on this, and I can see the instructions that my teacher has given me. Give it just a second for Canvas to talk to my student Google account. Maybe. Here it goes. Good. All right. So here, now as a student, this is embedded for me. I can see that birds in my backyard is assigned to me. It's worth 100 points. I don't know why it says no due date, but whatever. And I'm automatically going to have this file that says Lucas Gillespie, Birds of North Carolina project. And so I click open to attach and submit. So when I do that, I can now open this file. I have my own copy as a student of what my teacher put together, like the template, what my teacher put together. I might take out this template thing here because I don't need that. It's already got my name in it, which is fantastic. And I see this awesome Eastern bluebird, which I've been seeing around lately. And here is the template that my teacher set up. So bird's common name here, common characteristics, diet, range, and then what are my sources? And so I might go out and find a picture of northern cardinal, talk about the common characteristics, what it is they eat, blah, 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 and cite my sources and fill all this stuff out. So I'm just going to say, I'll do one as an example. Northern cardinal. Might go out and find a picture. Just pretend I did that. Red. Eats seeds. Loud. Okay. Oh, that should have been down here. Whatever. Just assume I'm a bad student. I don't follow instructions. My own head. Okay. So that's my sources. Who needs sources? I have an encyclopedia in my head. Okay. So when I'm done, I've edited this file. I'm going to come back to the Google Assignments tab that opened up. Here's my file, and I'm just going to click submit. Now it's like, hey, you got one attachment. It's going to be submitted. Birds in my backyard. Are you good with this? I click submit. And drum roll. You're all set. Your assignment is submitted and ready for your instructor to review it.
Question,
Right.
Lucas.
Go for it.
Do you have to be administrator to see the student view? Like if I have my stuff in there and I want to see what it looks like to a student and go through it, do I have to be an administrator to do that?
So that is a good question. So there's a student view built in to Canvas, which is great. I don't know exactly what, let's go see actually what that's going to look like. So let me move this window off.
Because until I get good at this, I want to go through it like a student to see where my mistakes are.
Well, and I'm just going to tell you from the get-go that I would just anticipate, and this is just part of learning a new system, that we're all going to ask for some grace from our students and give some grace to our students as we're all learning a new system a little bit. But you can, for the most part, your course, this is student view on that same thing. Now, what shows up here is different because to Google, you're still the instructor, but everything else is exactly how the student would see it in all the rest of your course when you're in student view. So that's just a little, in this instance, the Google part itself is a little different because I can't see that as a Google because Google doesn't know who I would be as a student. I set this student up with my personal account and added them. So yeah, you would have to be an administrator to do that. But otherwise, this student view will show you like what students are going to see everywhere else in your course anyway. Okay.
So if we have to have a live student in that class, then we're not going to be able to really see if this works until the fall.
Well, unless you could always enroll a colleague as a student in your course.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one way you could test it out if you wanted to. And to do that, you would just go to your people tab or link and click plus people. Put in their email address. Melissa, you might put midkifm@surrey.k12.nc.us and then just make sure it's set to student here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see then just get them to test it out for you. That could work as well.
Could we set ourselves? Like send our own, like put our own email in there?
Like if we have a personal Google Drive
Yeah.
That's a good question. I did it, and I don't know if that's because I'm an admin or not. You know what? Try it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, we'll figure out another solution. Look, mash buttons. That's what I'm like. Get in and mash some buttons. See what happens. And if you break it and you can't figure out how to fix it, email me. I will help for sure. Okay, let's go back and talk about, so you can see what it looks like when it's time to grade from the teacher's perspective. So here I am on this assignment. As students submit their work, they're going to show up here in a list that'll scroll down. So I'll see all the work that students have submitted. Okay. And here I can actually go ahead and start grading the assignments if I want to. And I can just use SpeedGrader. SpeedGrader is fantastic, y'all. This thing is pretty cool. So I launched SpeedGrader. And it's not going to show me a preview of this particular assignment, but I can scroll through different ones. So I can pull up that student's work. And let's see here. So I'm going to click on it. And yeah, and so I can go through and look, see what he did. Read, eat seeds loud. This is not enough information for me. So this is not going to work. Now, you can grade these things directly inside of Google Assignments, and Google Assignments will then send that grade up to Canvas, or I can just grade it directly in the SpeedGrader. Either way, I'm just going to grade it. I'm going to give this student a 10. Ideally, for things, you can create rubrics and things like that too. You can do all of that. That's up to you. And I might say this needs a little more. I'll give more detailed feedback than that. Don't forget too that when you're giving students feedback on anything through SpeedGrader, you have the option of recording video feedback, which is fantastic. So here you see me, and I could be, hey, Lucas, I'm not sure we're even communicating on the same wavelength. I noticed in your assignment, you used yourself as a source, and though you may be brilliant when it comes to the birds of North Carolina, you do need to cite credible sources, preferably somebody with a PhD. Anyway, try again. So I can do that, and that that feedback, I'm going to alienate myself. Anyway, that feedback goes up, and they can review that feedback. I can also do audio feedback. I can upload a file attachment, etc. So pretty cool stuff here. How this works. So I'm gonna save that. I'm actually gonna send that to myself. So that's how it works. Once I've got the grade in, I'm gonna click submit, and that will then go into the grade book for this assignment. And then I would just click the arrow to go to the next student and just keep running, walking through grading these. Now, if I have created a rubric, that's another thing I've been playing around with lately. What's awesome about the rubrics, if you create a rubric, you've got your different criteria and your different rating scales. That I'm pointing to my screen like you guys can see me. That rubric will show up in a small version right here in this area, and you simply just click on the different ratings. So a 5 here, a 4 here, a 5 here, a 3 there, and it will calculate the score for you automatically and then send it up to the student. So then you have that feedback in the rubric form that goes to the students, which is really, really cool as well. All right, so let me, SpeedGrader, remember, opens a separate window, so I'm just going to close it now that I'm done. Close that. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to my modules. And that's pretty much Google Assignments LTI 1.3. So again, use this if you want to give your students like a copy of a Google file that you want them to work with, whether it's a Google document, maybe think of like a digital worksheet or something to fill out. I saw one teacher, we've got some teachers doing some course design work for us that did a Google drawing using lab equipment and then little labels, and it was like match these things up and submit it. Well, that would be a perfect assignment for Google Drive LTI. Maybe you want them to create a presentation. You've set the template up for them that they need to work from, and they can do that. So really awesome tool there. Keeps your stuff organized. Just to show you kind of how what this does in your Google Drive. Let me pop in, get into my district Google Drive account. Got multiple. Yeah, go ahead while I'm pulling this up. What you got?
So I've been trying to do this, but I was using the cloud drive and it was allowing me to make a copy. Do I need to stop using that one and use LTI or what?
You can use either one. Either one is fine. Google Assignments LTI 1.3 is the new shiny functionality of Google and Canvas working together. The Google Cloud Assignments thing still works. And I don't think you're not going to see any, I don't think it's just going to go away and all of a sudden all your stuff's just not going to work anymore. So it's really up to you whether you want to use the cloud assignments or I'm sorry, the Google Drive cloud thing or whatever, or the LTI 1.3. I'd recommend probably going with the newer.
Okay.
But either one is fine. I mean, really, it's not going to be a big deal.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually tried to add you as a student in like my sandbox course, and I think that'll work because my personal email didn't work.
It wouldn't let. Okay, yeah, probably because there's not a user in Canvas associated with that email address, and the reason that I kind of wouldn't encourage that is because we are billed based off of our users, and so if we had lots and lots of like personal accounts and stuff like that in there, that could be a problem. So probably adding a colleague in a student role is probably the best way to do it.
Are you cool with us adding you as like a colleague to like test stuff out?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Yep. I'll let you know if you start spamming up my inbox. I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna have to drop your course. I just can't handle the pressure. I do want to show you this when you use Google Cloud Assignments, it will create this assignments folder here in your Google Drive. And I just want to show you what that looks like. So right now I have 2 courses that I've enabled that in, Mr. G Science Class and Online Teaching. Every course that you enable that in, you'll get a separate folder. So it keeps all your courses separate. And then within that, you will see folders for every assignment that you've used that for. So I've played around with this sort of theme of using the birds thing or whatever. And so here are the examples that are there. So as students do their work, you'll also see it all here. So Lucas Gillespie, Joe Smith, etc. All my students will show up here. So I can actually pop into my Google Drive and actually look at their work too. So just to let you know that is an option. All right. So I'm going to pause, and I think wrong presentation. That's later today. So I think we've gone through everything. Yeah. So my number one suggestion to you is play around with this in your sandbox. Try setting one up. Remember, the only truly tricky thing about this is that once you've selected and chosen your file and attached it, you have to click that select button again in the process. It just, I don't know, it's weird, but make sure you know it has attached and it's done what you've asked it to do. And this is where I made a note here in step 9. Hey, this is a little confusing. Just make sure you click select again. And aside from that, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to pause there.
Can I ask a question about, like, I selected, I'm just changing one of the assignments I've already made to make an LTI tool. It asked me if I want to load this tool in a new tab. Do I need to check that box?
That's up to you. That's a personal preference. In other words, what that does, it forces on the student end. Will that load up inside of the tab that's already there, or will it launch a new tab for the students? And there's different schools of thought on what's better. I don't have a preference.
Okay.
I think it's whatever works for you. Is this something you think you will use moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot easier for the students because it forces a copy and then it automatically submits it straight back to me for grading. So instead of the kids having to hook in an external document, it does it all synced through their Google Drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think they'll find this easier. I like how it, for the most part, aside from just when you're working on the assignment itself, it lives inside of Canvas, so it keeps them from having to go all over the place. Also saves you the time. I know I've noticed that some teachers are really doing that the manual way, like you create a template or something like that, and then you're copying the address and putting doing that little hack where you delete everything up to the slash and put the word copy and then share that link, and that whole rigmarole, it eliminates all that. It just automates it all, which is nice. Any other questions about Google integration? Any questions about anything else Canvas related while you have me as a captive audience?
Yeah, I've imported all of my old test questions, and I'm just a little confused about how the test bank works with the quizzes in terms of, like, is it a dynamic link? Like, if I edit a question in the test bank, does that automatically update the way the question is written in the actual quiz in the class?
That is a good question. So let me state that back to you to make sure that I understand, and then I'll do a little research and get back to you. So what you're asking is, so like I create a 10-question quiz and I pull the questions from my question bank, and then I decide to switch up a couple of the answers in one of the questions. Does that edit the version in the test bank? Is that what you're asking?
Exactly. And also vice versa. So if I create a quiz, do those quiz questions automatically go into the test bank? Yeah. Something I could pull off later if I wanted to reuse that question on a different quiz.
Okay.
So is it a dynamic link? You know,
yeah.
Like Blackboard is a dynamic link. It's all
right. I'm going to assume that it is. But let me go dig on that a little bit and get back to you, because I'll admit
not, because I've been playing around with that as I had imported test questions. But if there's some setting I need to change to like make it a dynamic link, I definitely want to do that. Okay, so what you're saying is, in your observations, you have noticed that editing the like a live quiz question doesn't edit what's in the test bank. Is that what you've observed so far? Correct. And if you edit something in the test bank, it doesn't automatically update the quiz in your course. I got you. Okay. All right. Let me dig on that a little bit, and Melissa, I'll get back to you on that. Just out of curiosity, because I just turned this on too. Are you using classic quizzes or new quizzes? I'm using, I've never created a new quiz in Canvas. I'm just working with quizzes that imported from Haiku. So I don't know the answer to that question. Okay, that's fine. Well, and I wouldn't expect, I mean, it was just sort of like if maybe you'd encountered this, because I turned on new quizzes, which is a feature. It's a feature in Canvas. I turned that on last week, I think, or way earlier this week. It's all running together now. And what New Quizzes does is a couple things. It broadly expands the types of questions you can ask. There's all kinds of, I mean, it's way beyond just multiple choice, true, false, and fill in the blank. You have like the drag and drop type questions and all sorts of things now. So how would I know the answer to your question just from looking at the quiz? But the fact that what you told me, I'm going to say with 99.5% a certainty that you are using classic quizzes, because anything you would have imported as classic quizzes, which is not a big deal. I mean, it's, you know, from what you imported, it's not going to make a big difference. That would really matter kind of moving forward. You can also, just to let you know, you can migrate any content that you've already imported or created from what they call classic quizzes to new quizzes
if you go out and click the little 3 dots in that quiz, and those are going to be an option to migrate, and you can just transfer into that new functionality. I'm going to tell you, I've got to get in and play and learn a little more about test banks. I have not really created my own and I've created quizzes, but I've not put things in banks and then tested it out from the student perspective and all that. So that's something I need to work on. So anything you learn, feel free to share it with me.
I'm not learning much. It's really trial and error, and it's a little bit time limiting as well. Because
I will tell you this: the reason that I even started moving into the new quizzes, and I would recommend it. This is just me, personal preference as a teacher, how I taught and how I handled assessments. I prefer my assessments to all be percentage based. So in other words, if I give you 5 questions or 20 questions, I still want it to be a 100-point test.
Me too.
And you probably have noticed that your quizzes have a certain number of points. It might be 12 points or 18 points or 30 points, depending on how big it is. Canvas classic quizzes, as I understand it, will only display grades as points. Now, it still will calculate the grade properly when everything's said and done, but it only displays things as points. And so if I change that quiz to new quizzes, I have the opportunity to go in the settings and display grade as percentage, and then it will change that. And I think at least what our students are primarily used to, what our teachers are probably used to, that's preferable. And that's why moving forward, if you hadn't created a lot of assessments, or you've got something you haven't already given to students, which none of us have yet, I might recommend converting them or migrating them all to new quizzes, if for no other reason, just for that functionality, be able to show the grade as a percentage.
So when you migrate them, will they appear in a different place on Canvas than in the quizzes tab?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they'll be in the same place. If they move or if they go rogue and go missing, you let me know. We'll track them down.
Yeah.
We'll find out one way or another.
Is there a way for the county to just migrate everything into new quizzes and get rid of classic quizzes?
I don't think so. I'm not aware of any functionality like that at this level. That in most instances, once schools have gone live with students and you've got grades out there and everything, that would create a potential nightmare, and that's probably why that's not even an option.
So I'm getting a pop-up screen that says migration in progress, but then it never does anything else. Is there something, like, how do I know if it migrated, or where do I look to see the migrated version of the quiz?
So it'll stay there when it's done. It'll have the same name, but when you open it, the interface will look different than it does in the classic quizzes. You'll have lots more.
It's not like creating a copy of it. It's actually changing.
It's actually like transitioning the content from one format to the other.
Okay. So maybe that old content format doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, possible. I would say try one of your quizzes, or even make a copy of it. Try it, see what you think. If this is going to work, I like this. It's a little different, but ultimately, I think it's going to be the best way to go.
I don't see a lot of difference on this one that I migrated in the settings. I don't see any difference, actually. Let me look at the points.
You'll still have to manually change that to display as percentage. But when you edit the quiz, you probably won't go in and edit the quiz, and that's when you'll notice the difference.
That's where I'm looking. I'm in the editor.
Okay, and the interface doesn't look different or anything?
I don't see an option to change it to percentage either.
Okay, that may not have migrated fully yet. So
okay. So it takes
keep playing around with it. And as you have specific questions, just shoot me an email if you run into something, and because those kinds of questions are what's really driving my learning right now when it comes to Canvas, is the questions that people are sending me.
Yeah, I really need that test bank question answered.
Okay, yeah, I've got it written down, and I'm gonna look it up at some point today, and I'll try to get back to you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Lucas, where is the assignments tab for in Google Drive? I didn't see it.
You should have, if you have created a Google Assignments, once you create it, it will generate that folder for you inside of Google Drive.
Thank you.
Yep.
So on the quizzes, I'm looking on my quizzes page and the 50, 60 quizzes I imported. And some of them have little rocket ships next to them.
Yep.
Some of them are light and some of them are dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I just
like here on
noticed
my
that.
screen, I have some of that.
What does that mean?
That might be the difference. Let me look. Or it may mean that a student has attempted it or not. There's a lot of things. So this, by the way, what you're seeing on my screen right now is new quizzes. This is what the interface looks like. It's a little different than the standard quiz builder. And really another thing that drove this was the question about how do I give students like a passage to read and then multiple questions to go with that passage. And that's, you can do that in both formats. A little easier in new quizzes to do that. So that one's definitely in new quizzes. Let me go back and look and see if I have one that's in classic. So this one is classic quizzes, I believe. Yeah. So this is what editing in classic quizzes looks like. It's just a little different. So again, play around with it, and just let me know if you try one out, see what you think. If you run into something and you need some help, shoot me an email. Happy to help. Anybody else have any questions? Well, with that said, I'm going to turn you loose. You guys have a great spring break too. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for everything you're doing. Again, if you have questions, just shoot me an email. Play around with this stuff. Give it a try. And refer people back to this recording if you think it'll help folks. People have questions. I'm going to, after it's done and I do just a little bit of editing, I'll put it on my YouTube channel and then I'll swap those links out. Then that district spreadsheet thing. And so folks can go check it out. You all have a great day and great spring break. Get some rest, have some fun, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.